Hello, everyone. If you were in the national capital region, you would have heard loud crackers and wondered perhaps if there is indeed a ban on cracker. The fact is that all of us have woken up to thick blanket of poisonous smog. What exactly is happening here? Is this open defiance of bursting crackers really helping? What about our health, safety, and above all, for the future generation, our children? Joining me on the show is Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, also Dr. Suranjit Chatterjee. Vikram Singh, there was this call that was given on Twitter that let's celebrate Diwali by bursting crackers and that any kind of ban should be defied. My understanding is that if there is a ban, then any kind of defiance will lead to the person who's doing it or indulging in it be penalized. uh, I mean, isn't this a bizarre narrative to have at all?
I would say it is not a bizarre narrative, Maria. It is absolutely clear defiance of the rule of law. We, as responsible citizens, have a duty to perform, ensure faithful compliance of the solemn orders passed by the Supreme Court and other courts. And then to say that we have committed self goal after self goal, indeed chopping at our own roots. Look what we have done to ourselves. 12 times more pollution than the normal time, than the safety limits. Are we trying to we have a death wish or something? I really don't know what is good. If we have a good ecosystem, let the children breathe, let their lungs be empowered to get pure oxygen and the pure air that is so necessary for their growth, mental, physical, and spiritual, and otherwise. Depriving them. I've never in my life felt so suffocated and my eyes were blurry and itching. Never. I'm a very tough person, and I know I've faced so many dust storms. But for the first time in my life, my eyes were itching and they were red, and I felt suffocated. This has never happened in my lifetime. But this happened this time, goes to show
Hmm.
that the pollution levels were at an all-time high. I really don't know how we can harm ourselves and our young ones to this extent. Open
Hmm.
defiance of law, the
Hmm.
administration looking the other way, not going in for anything, and then giving a communal tinge to the bursting of crackers. What
Yes.
worse can we do to ourselves, Maria? I think this was a tragedy that was best avoided, and we need to learn our lessons. Come down heavily on those who sold crackers and in whose jurisdiction the crackers were sold in the guise of so-called green crackers. There was nothing like green crackers. Green crackers on the top of
Yes.
the shelf, and the regular crackers were underneath the table.
Hmm. And I would wait for Dr. Chatterjee to join us because, the dangerous tiny pollutants in there, that is the concentration of PM 2.5, actually stood at 999 per cubic meter. That is the maximum reading. Perhaps if it was allowed to cross that, it would have been much higher.
Much
And
higher than
what
that.
will you tell me? What will you be telling those, Dr. Vikram Singh, who are saying that this is nothing to do with crackers per se?
I really don't know what is meant by saying crackers per se. The Honorable Supreme Court says there will be no bursting, there is total ban on crackers. Do you think that you and I even have a right to disobey the orders passed by the court? The right forum was the Supreme Court, not discussions anyway. Second is the administration, a complicit and a callous administration. I would not say a complicit, a callous, and a corrupt and an indifferent administration that looked the other way when it came to the sale of crackers. I wish they were more alert to their responsibilities. And what could be more tragic when they say that they will burst crackers even to the extent of committing slow poisoning to ourselves and to our young ones. This is
Yes,
nothing short of
absolutely.
poisoning ourselves.
Yes, yes. So, Dr. Chatterjee, how many calls have you got since the morning of children, particularly having lung issues?
Several calls. I've got calls from most of the people whom I know that they're having breathing problems. As Mr. Vikram Singh said, that people have been having burning eyes, they are having watering eyes, they're all having breathlessness, cough. There, a few of them are having chest pain, chest constriction. So all sorts of different calls from different types of people, from children, from elderly, from even middle-aged people who are reasonably healthy. They are also having problems.
Yes.
So that is what
Hmm.
has been created this time. So much of pollution that even healthy young people who exercise regularly, who go out regularly, are having problems. So I've never had problems like this, are facing problems this time. So we really need to be careful. We really need to be tough on people, and this has to be brought down.
Dr. Chatterjee, there is also this viewpoint which says that there are multiple reasons for this smog that we see. It's a story that we revisit in Delhi and NCR every year, perhaps, and that is the reasons are vehicular emission, industrial pollution, and also stubble burning. Then why are we talking about Diwali crackers per se?
No, we should talk about everything. You're right, absolutely. It is just not the crackers. Crackers are a part of it. Stubble burning, all this, the industrial pollution, everything plays a role. So there is no doubt that it's a multifactorial thing rather than just the crackers just are basically tip of the ice. They just add on to it. So it should not only be the crackers, it has to be a multidisciplinary, multifactorial. The approach has to be multi-pronged. It cannot just be that you just stop the crackers and everything would be fine. This is actually incorrect. I would actually support what you're saying, that it has to be a multi-pronged attack where different governments have to play a role, different things have to be brought into under control, stubble burning, industrial pollution, everything is adding on to it.
And we have the worst air quality as far as this particular season is concerned. Stubble burning, as we have been discussing, is one reason, which is often seen as center versus state or state versus state issue. But Dr. Chatterjee, talking specifically about the health, people have asthma. They are complaining about it. Itching, burning eyes are common issues that we are seeing. Um, then what do we do? I mean, I'm sure I've asked this question to you every winter, every around this time every year. But then this is almost getting claustrophobic, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And most of the people who unfortunately suffer from a chronic obstructive airway disease or an asthma, they really suffer. And the hospital admissions do increase, and they report to the emergency with breathing problem. Quite a few need hospital admissions because see, I'm not really worried about the burning in the eyes or watering from the eyes, but I'm more worried about people who can't breathe because they need to be admitted sometimes to the hospital. And with this dengue going on, which is like an epidemic, at least in the Delhi city, where beds are a scarcity now, even this has added on to the problems. All this smoking and obviously people who are not able to breathe and whose oxygen levels are low, quite a few of them would require admission to specialty hospitals.
Hmm. So hospital admissions have also increased. So a day of festivities, and then this is what we are staring ourselves at. Vikram Singh, the narrative that played out on Twitter particularly and social media, which is very very polarizing in these times. Why should pollution be subjected to some kind of very divisive politicking?
I wish there were a radar or a filter that would separate the two communities from the pollution. There is no such filter on the planet
Yes.
which will separate anyone from anyone. If the ecosystem, or if it is a black hole of Kolkata, now it is for you, for me, for Dr. Chatterjee, and for everyone, including the VIPs staying in Delhi and all of us. Let us make no
Hmm.
mistake about it or live in an illusion that if there's a pollution, if the ecosystem is polluted, it is polluted for everyone, man, woman, or child, irrespective of caste, creed, and religion. But we have made a fetish of chopping at our own roots, and this is one example. Then center is to stay in the stubble burning. Then when it comes to communalizing any festival, we are experts at making self goal after self goal as far as our self interest is concerned. Do not be charitable towards Pakistan, but at least be charitable towards yourself. At least do some kind of charity towards yourself. Charity begins at home. Stubble burning will also have to be attended. The fossil fuels also to be attended. But bursting of crackers, never, Maria, have I seen this enthusiastic bursting of crackers as I saw last night. And I do hope it's not repeated tonight, because if it's repeated today, make no mistake, I'm going to call the police, even if I'm branded a pariah in my locality. But this is one thing that I'll not tolerate, that the elderly are clutching at their hearts, the pets are shivering, and all of us,
Yes.
the babies also are in such great distress. I don't think we have to suffer all this in the name of anything, whatever be the merit of so-called chauvinism that is totally unjustified and uncalled for. Vibrant
Yes.
self-interest and a healthy alternative is a must.
Yes, my cat was thoroughly petrified and he was running from one corner of the house to another. So it was really, really bad last night because of the noise and the sound. And of course, a recent study, Dr. Chatterjee says that 480 million people in northern India face the most extreme levels of air pollution in the world. And, and certainly our own longevity or life expectancy as far as Delhi is concerned is also going down. Um, would you be migrating to a different city? What options do we have in the coming few days? How should we
let me tell
protect
you,
ourselves?
let me tell you, a few of my patients who are high-end clientele, who have the money and who have the resources, are actually migrating to different places. They're migrating to Dehradun. They're planning to migrate to the hills. That is what is happening. But what happens to the people who need to work in this city, who need to earn their living, who
Yes.
need to have all these things? They cannot unfortunately migrate because obviously of the job opportunities, because they have settled over here. Also, let me tell you, Delhi has the best medical facilities otherwise in the country. But but people who can really afford, people are really having the second or the third houses in the hills nowadays. They are migrating to that places, and it is not new that what you are telling on this channel. Of quite a few of my patients and whom I know and my acquaintances do have a second home somewhere else, and where they shift, including, let me tell you, a few of the doctors who have the ability to have a second house.
Hmm. Dr. Vikram Singh, I'm going to give you the final words here. What exactly is the nature of penalty if you burst crackers when there is a ban on it? Vikram Singh, if you can hear me, sir. Sir, you'll have to
Repeat the
unmute.
question.
Yes, please. Go ahead. Yes, I want to understand what is the penalty if you are bursting crackers despite a ban? Sir, sir, there seems to be some problem with your connection. All right, let's wrap this discussion now. Vikram Singh and Dr. Chatterjee, thank you so much for joining us. That is certainly a matter of huge concern for all of us. NCR, that when we wake up to this kind of really smoggy black blanket of air where it makes us difficult to breathe. So let's continue with this discussion and let's be careful and not burst crackers. Also pray that perhaps the air clears up as well. Thanks so much for watching.